Looking forward
Thank
to
you,
it.
thank you very much, and welcome to Millwall Fan TV. So I'm going to get on to 10 questions about your Millwall career. So let's start. What was your favourite moment whilst at Millwall?
Favorite moment. Um, yeah, I mean there was a few, but for me, this is an easy one. It was winning promotion at Wembley, League One playoff final against Swindon, I believe. The 1-0 win. Yeah, for me, it was just. I mean, to this day, I've never experienced anything like that moment. 55,000 people. I think 40,000 were Millwall. um, playing at such a high-profile venue like Wembley Stadium, um, and to win and clinch promotion was just, yeah, to date easily the biggest moment of my career.
How about the Leeds one? You know where you scored the winning goal, made it 2-0 to us. Was that a pretty special one at Ellen Road too?
Yeah, again, that was a fantastic moment. Fantastic moment. It kind of for me, it was turning a low moment into a high that game as I was hoping to start, and I found out before the game in the meeting that I was going to be on the bench, and Kenny Jackett had decided to go with Chopra with Morrison. But yeah, to come on and to score a goal in such an important moment. I mean, I think I look back at that game and think if we don't get the second goal, um, we maybe we don't win. Maybe we can, we concede and we get a 1 point instead of three. And at such a crucial stage of the season, obviously we missed our automatic promotion on the last day. But yeah, for me it was a very important goal in a very important moment.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Who was the biggest character in the dressing room during your time at Millwall?
Oh. um, biggest character I would say was also probably the biggest guy I've ever played with, and that'd be Danny Shitu. When he come, I was always quite a tall player and quite well built. But I remember just being dwarfed next to him. He was, he was just huge. But he had a massive personality along with that, and for me, I'd never met him before, and he just had one of those characters that as soon as you met him, you were just drawn to his personality. He was just that person, and I got on really well with him on my time there, and yeah, for me, I would say he was probably the biggest character in our dressing room at that time.
Thank you very much. Question three: how big a part does a packed den help Millwall players, but also intimidate the away team?
Oh, massively, hugely. Um, in terms for us, the home team, you know, people throw around this saying of the 12th man, but when playing for Millwall, it's more like a 13th man. It is phenomenal. A lot of our games, they were almost won before the whistle had been blown, just because teams would come and they were just so intimidated and in fear of the crowd and the reaction from the Millwall fan base, and you could almost see them. I mean, in fact, not almost. I did. Obviously, there was quite a large part of the season that I spent injured, and sitting and watching the games. There were, I was fortunate enough to know quite a few players in the football game. Um, who are of such a high caliber and played for great teams and scorers of great goals, and seeing so many players come to the den and probably have their worst games of the season time and time again. It's just, it's not coincidence. It's not coincidence. And Mill, it just has that aura about it that if you're not mentally tough, as tough as you can get mentally, it is a very intimidating place for the away team, and they are huge in terms of Mill as a club being successful.
100%, I definitely agree with that. In your time at Millwall as an attacker, who was the Millwall player in track you struggled to get past in training?
Uh, well, not to be big-headed, I don't know if I can say this, but I didn't really struggle to get past anyone. It was, for those players that played with me, that was, that was my thing. That was my strength. Taking people on, getting past people. If I couldn't do that, I wouldn't play. I mean, the one thing I would say is I was regularly having, I would regularly have battles in training. And a lot of players probably hated training against me because I was like that in training. Probably the most significant, I would say, was Alan Dunn. Millwall legend, and Millwall fans will know exactly what he's about. He's tough tackling, he's wholehearted. He trains that way as well. And we would often have confrontations and battles in training where I would just keep going at him and he would just keep trying to bring me down. So, I would probably say, Danny, it was, no love lost on the pitch, but we were, great friends off it.
Yeah, definitely a Millwall legend. What was your opinion on the Millwall manager back then, Kenny Jackett?
Kenny Jackett, I always, and I will always have a lot of respect for Kenny Jackett. I thought he was a fantastic manager. He gave me, he took a chance on me, taking me on loan from Peterborough. We were in the relegation zone in the Championship at that time. Things weren't going great for me personally. He brought me to Millwall, and we had a fantastic end to the season. He showed a lot of faith in me, starting me in games, whether wide or up top. And I still remember being injured for the playoff semi-final against Huddersfield. I think I'd been out for almost 3 weeks. And him pulling me a couple of days before the playoff final and saying he was going to start me, which I was, astonished. I couldn't believe that he was showing that much faith in me. The fact that, I hadn't played in the semi-final. I'd been injured for the last 3 weeks. I think I only trained maybe the Thursday and the Friday before the final. And I was grateful that I was able to repay him by putting in a performance and contributing to us getting promoted. So, we didn't always see eye to eye. Obviously I had a frustrating time with injuries and getting back fit after that. But a lot of respect for Kenny Jackett, and I think he's done a fantastic job in the game. Yeah,
definitely, 100%. He still is. Question 6: would you have liked to be at Millwall for longer?
Absolutely. Obviously, I left because it was my contract had come to an end. Kenny Jackett had moved on, and a new manager was coming in. But yeah, I mean, I would love to have stayed at Millwall longer. I understand why it couldn't happen. With what happened to me with injuries and missing a lot of game time. I mean, I would have loved to have been able to stay longer. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But luckily for me, I still have a lot of fond memories from my time at the club.
Yeah, thank you. Question 7: in your time at Millwall, who was the best player you played with?
Oh, tricky one. Best player I played with. I mean, to be honest, I'm probably going to have to say, for what he's done since leaving Millwall, you probably have to look at Harry Kane and say for Millwall to have secured a player like that on loan for what he's gone on to achieve. I mean, I didn't get to play much with him. Obviously, I was injured for most of the season that he was there. But just to see his technical abilities in training, his physical prowess, his discipline on and off the pitch, commitment to the game outside of football was just as strong on the pitch. So in terms of probably the best player, I would have to say Harry, just because of how far he's excelled since then.
Obviously, talking about Harry Kane, Millwall have just signed Troy Parrott on loan from Tottenham for the 2020-21 season. A lot of people have said that he is the future Harry Kane. What does Troy Parrott need to do to be able to fill the boots of Harry Kane at Millwall?
I don't know if he'll ever fill the boots of Harry Kane. I think he's his own man and his own player in his own right. But he is undoubtedly a fantastic talent and has a bright future in the game. In order to in order for any player, regardless whether it's someone coming in from Tottenham or any other player, in order to fit in at Millwall, you've got to wear your heart on your sleeve. You've got to run, and you've got to give 110%. There's one thing I would say at Millwall: 100% isn't enough. I'd like to think I have a good relationship still with the Millwall fans, and thought of quite highly, not necessarily for my talent as a aesthetically pleasing footballer, but for the fact that, when I crossed the line, I gave 110%. I ran, to the very last minute. I got stuck in when I needed to, and things like that go a long way with Millwall fans. So, as long as he's willing to dig in, whether it's a cold Tuesday night in January or on a summer's day, on a Saturday at 3:00, dig in, fight, wear his heart on his sleeve, give all for the club and for the team. Millwall fans will get right behind him.
100%. Question 8, what do you/don't you miss about playing professional football?
For me, what I don't miss is an easy one, really. It's just the negative side of the game, which for me was just the injuries. It's a part of the game that can't be helped. Some players are fortunate where, you can go many, many years in your career without picking up any significant injuries. Unfortunately for me, I picked up a huge one, after signing for the club. And, that was my career following that. So for me, that was, the incredibly tough side of the game. It was, getting injured, the time spent in the gym, rehab, being in the physio room, seeing the other players in the morning, and then leaving to go out onto the training ground at 10:30 while you're, stuck inside for another day doing gym rehab. So that for me was the most painful side of the game, and certainly something that I don't miss. What I do miss is just the euphoria of being a professional footballer. The way that you're looked at, from fans, other people, the fact that you were able to make it as a professional footballer, the joy of scoring a goal in front of thousands of people, those moments being clapped off the field by the home fans after winning a game, and giving your all for the team. They're things that, whatever career you decide to go on to after football, you never experience that again. So they're certainly the things that I miss.
Yeah, 100%. Question 9, what was the toughest team you played against while you were at Millwall?
So it's a difficult question, that one. Just going back to your earlier question, I think when you play for Millwall, it's for away teams. They would probably be one of the first names that they would say is one of the most difficult teams to ever play against. But when you actually play for Millwall, not many other teams seem that difficult. I don't know what it is. It's just, it's kind of like when you've got that backing of Millwall and that fan base, and that feeling on home games. When you go to other clubs, it never really feels that difficult. But I mean, a couple of games that I can think of, definitely the Leeds game, which we've spoken about already, is probably the first time that I'd experienced a somewhat similar atmosphere. Being such the magnitude of that game, and I think there was a good sort of 20 odd thousand people there. Top of the table clash. So that was definitely a difficult game, which I'm grateful we were on the winning side of. Other than that, I remember going to Newcastle in the Championship the season that they got relegated. And I think they had something ridiculous like 50 odd thousand fans there. And I remember we pulled into the underground car park on the coach, and there being probably 2,000 to 3,000 fans there just screaming, chanting and trying to intimidate us. So that was probably the only time I really experienced anything of that magnitude. So yeah, probably Leeds and maybe that Newcastle game as well.
Thank you. Question 10, last question. Who was your best mate in the Millwall dressing room during the time at Millwall?
My best mate at Millwall, and one of my good friends still today was Liam Trotter. So we were fortunate enough. I think we signed for Millwall on loan at very similar stages. I think maybe he signed a week before I did. And he was coming from Ipswich. I was living up in Peterborough at the time. So we ended up living together as well. And we were both very similar characters. So we got on very, very well. As I said, we had similar personalities, similar interests. And we spent a lot of time together on and off the field. So still a very good friend of mine today. So I'd have to say Liam Trotter.
Thank you very much, Shaun. That's been a really good interview. Thank you for joining me.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me, and enjoy the rest of your day, Kai.
Thank you. You too. Thank you, Shaun.
Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.